Hello, lovelies. This is Lazy Fox Creates, a podcast about the crafting experience. I'm Laura, known online as Glomdy, and I have a guest. I have a GuinnessPorVida with me. Hi.
Hello, hello.
Guinness does really cool things, two in particular, which is rug tufting. Tufting?
Tufting. Yeah, you had it right.
Tufting. Okay.
Tufting.
Sorry. I was like, is this silent? Uh, and spray paint art, which are both like they they seem like they take a level of patience.
Yeah, especially the tufting more than the spray paint. But yeah, definitely. I mean, I feel like a lot of art does to some degree, especially maybe not like paint pouring. I think that's a lot of just like it's gonna happen, and you go with it kind of thing. But yeah. So, but yeah, I'm GuinnessPorVida online, but go by Thomas. So you can feel free to call me either one.
I don't think I've ever heard your real name before.
Yeah, I'm not shy about it. I know some people keep their, real life names and stuff private, but I'm a pretty open book. That's why I was excited to do this. So.
I wrote out a list of people when I was first thinking of doing this podcast. I was like, do I know enough people to get guests to populate this? And you were on it. And then I saw your rug for the extra life, and I was like, yes,
Oh,
this is
thanks.
perfect.
Well, I'm honored to be on, so I'm excited.
So I think I generally know how to do it. It occurred to me if it's the thing that I'm thinking of. Is
Hmm.
it the one where you like put a hook in and you like pull a like piece of yarn through?
So it is that, but the way I do it is I use a tufting gun. Um,
Oh.
so it's basically it's a gun that does that a lot really fast. So it puts the yarn in, pulls it back out, and then cuts it. And that's there's cut pile and loop pile, which I do cut pile. The main difference is loop pile, you don't cut the strand. So it would be more of a flat rug that you see. That's going to be a series of loops versus cut pile is a series of cuts and gives you that softer feel to it. So different styles, but yeah, it's basically like that. But I'm too lazy to stab it over and over again. I'd rather just use a gun, so it just makes it feel that much more impressive. So
Yeah, and you can like actually get them done in a reasonable amount of time.
yeah, yeah, I have much respect for those that do the manual tufting. I've seen it, and it's basically like a punch needle like that, and it's wild.
I think if I am thinking of the same thing, I did like like a small throw pillow in high school or something. And it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So,
So, how did you get into this? This seems like a really like unique thing to do.
yeah. And so do you want me to flip back and forth between like the spray paint and the tufting, or you mainly want to talk about the tufting first?
Yeah, you can flip back and forth.
Okay. So the spray paint art, and just to kind of go into that, if any listeners are familiar with, like, if you've seen like the galaxy style paintings where you do a planet and stars and all that, that's kind of where I started, when like a lot of my art journey was in that. I'm from an area called San Antonio. There's a place called the River Walk where you can walk down and see all kinds of cool stuff. Well, when I was probably 18, maybe 19, I was walking down the Riverwalk with some friends, and I saw a guy there that had little setup, bunch of spray paint cans, a little boombox, and I sat there for hours and watched this guy spray paint and do these galaxy paintings, and just absolutely fell in love with the art. And so kind of self-taught, watched him a whole bunch, and then this was I'll go ahead and age myself. This is 23 years ago, so the internet wasn't what it was. So you couldn't just be like, oh, that looks cool, let me go watch some YouTube videos on it. And so just kind of self-taught and learned a lot of it, enjoyed it, and then took a break from it for a long time, and then picked it up again. The only hard part is having proper ventilation, use a lot of spray paint, and unfortunately, the entire house would end up smelling like spray paint, even though I'm out in the garage. So one of those where that's kind of what got me to find a new medium, which was rug tufting. And I wish there was a more glamorous story from that, but I saw it, figured I could do it, and kind of self-taught and watched there's a bunch of really amazing rug tufters out there. And so just kind of followed in their footsteps and learned things. And I feel like art, creating in general is a very hands-on feel. Like if you're not willing to sit in and get your hands dirty, you can sit and analyze it and plan it out all day long. And oh, I need all these supplies and I need this. And if I get this whole setup just right, then I can start to try to learn. And best thing you can do is just jump in the deep end and learn.
That's what I do a lot. Um, I like make lists of things that I need.
Oh, I'm. That's the only reason I can call people out on it is because I'm the same way. I get like to call it analysis paralysis. I'll spend 3 months, analyzing everything, teaching myself everything, learning it, and then by the time I get to it, I'm like, nah, I'm gonna move on to something else. So it's
Yeah.
terrible. So you have to force yourself to get out and do it.
Um, I have by now when people are listening to this, hopefully they'll have listened to I did an episode with Liz, my friend, who
Mhm.
we talked about like ADHD and crafting.
Mhm.
So that came up a lot.
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah. It's my wife and I joke a lot where it's I wonder when I'm gonna get into that. So, when is my glass blowing phase going to begin? And we joke about it and I'm like, how do I not already have a 3D printer? So yeah, it's pretty bad. But I love it.
That's so funny that you said glass blowing because I think that's the example I used in the trailer about like I'm just gonna come with some
Uh,
random thing because glass
yep.
blowing looks so
It
fascinating to me.
does, right?
If if anyone listening to this does glass blowing, please feel free to
Yes.
come on here.
Yeah, yeah. Send the DMs out there and let's get them on so that I can listen to that episode and then immediately start my journey in glass blowing.
Right. Okay, so what are either your favorite piece you've made or the
Mhm.
most like extravagant?
Um, so for the spray paint, I have two examples. One, I did a very large, it basically looked like a Triforce. And in each triangle, there was like a different solar system, like a different galaxy. It turned out really, really good. It was a lot of fun because it was the first time I really worked on like taping off sections and really getting some clean lines with tape. It was mainly just overall canvas before that. So that one was a lot of fun to do. But honestly, there was a when I used to stream the spray painting on Twitch, I had a viewer who messaged me and told me that her kids love watching my streams and
Nice.
meant a lot to me. I love teaching. I love, helping, people learn art. And so I messaged them back and said, "Hey, look, this particular day, here's your supply list. Have the kiddos, get these for them. Get it all set up. I'll start the stream and you can actually follow along and I'll wait in each step and teach them how to do it." And so I would literally do a part and then I would say, "Okay, I'll wait." And then I waited for them to message in chat and then moved on to the next, and they sent me pictures after of the results, and it was just huge. I mean, just warmed my heart. It was so much fun to teach the person and their kiddos. So that was definitely my favorite spray paint moment. I've been very fortunate. The rugs are really popular for charity. I know you mentioned that the Extra Life, you got to see that one, but I mean I've done Stack Up, which draws awareness to veteran suicide. I've done Extra Life a couple times. I'm working on a Ghostbusters one for a friend that actually goes out and does like children's hospital events as a Ghostbuster. She has like a fully decked out Ghostbusters vehicle and everything, so I'm doing a rug for her to take with her. So the rugs, they just translate really well to that kind of thing. So those have definitely been my favorites, just because they've been able to help raise some money and do some good. Um, but honestly, this Ghostbusters one I'm finishing trimming that here in the next couple days, and it is by far, I think, the best color matching I've done. So I'm really excited to see how that one finishes up.
Definitely either send it to me or tag me when you post it
Oh yeah,
somewhere.
for sure, for sure.
So you're like a really cool dude.
Thank you.
I've always been curious about this when I see like videos online and stuff. When you tape it down, are
Mhm.
you ever scared that it's gonna like pull the paint, the what
Oh,
you've
for
painted
sure.
already?
Yeah, for sure. So, for listeners that aren't familiar with the process of like the galaxies, is you usually spray down your colors that you're going to use for your planet, and then you'll put like some highlights and shadows and things like that, and then you cover it. Some people use bowls, some people use just like a round piece of cardstock that they've cut out in the size that they want. Depends on everybody's preference. But yeah, the first time I used to use bowls, but unfortunately, when you use a heavy item, if you don't let the actual paint underneath dry enough, then you'll end up getting a nice little ring that doesn't look great. And vice versa, if you use a flat like a stencil paper, then you risk it getting stuck to it. So yeah, that is one of those things is making sure that it's nice and dry. But then again, that was part of the fun is you can use a lighter with some spray paint and kind of blow torch it, and it looks really cool and it's
Ooh.
entertaining to see. But I have also set my artwork on fire before, so you have to be careful of that. So,
Oh my
uh,
god. We have
yeah,
that in common because, when I was doing electronics for a cosplay, I started a very small fire.
there you go. Yeah, it's like rite of passage kind of thing.
Right. I unplugged it right away, so there was no
There you go.
risk to a fire starting, but it was just a cute little flame. I was like, "Ooh, that was exciting."
There you go. Right? Yeah, get the heart pumping a little bit. So,
Yeah. Okay, so you said that you learned without the internet, which is
hmm I know,
mind-boggling to
right?
me because anytime I learn anything, it's the internet. When I started learning leatherworking, it was like nonstop watching tutorials because I couldn't get in anywhere to like take lessons or anything.
Sure.
So, how was that process?
I mean, it's the good thing is the funny thing is between the spray paint art and the rug tufting is I've kind of learned both ways. So obviously, rug tufting 20 something years later, there is a lot of tutorials and there's a lot to learn on that. I think there's value in both. I think unfortunately, if you have too many tutorials that you're following along with, it can be hard to kind of find your own voice, find your own style. I will say that, with the spray paint art, kind of learning by myself in the garage or in the backyard, it, you do create your own style and your own way of doing things. And, so there's value in both. I find, I was thinking about it the other day, like, I don't understand how people make music nowadays because I just feel like there's so much music. Like I don't know
Mm.
how I would be able to create and not accidentally mimic something I've heard, So I don't know how people do that. And so for me, sometimes less is more when it comes to influences because it just helps you figure out, what your style is.
Yeah, that makes sense. I always think that about music too. I had this phase where I like randomly thought that maybe I could write songs even though I like can't sing or do instruments, and I would make a few tunes, and then when I actually heard the song, I realized I just copied a song that I heard.
That's like my biggest fear is to come up with this amazing idea that I think is extremely original and then literally realize that I subconsciously copied something I'd already seen. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Are there any other hobbies that you wish you could get into?
I mentioned glass blowing and 3D printing because those are real things that I'd like to do. Probably more the 3D printing than anything else. I just finished up or I'm actually finishing up a Tokyo Ghoul mouth like rug, where it's if you're
Ooh.
familiar with the anime, it's his smile where he's got the zipper teeth. So I thought about it. I was like, man, if I had a 3D printer and I could 3D print the actual zipper, like just the zipper pull a way to kind of integrate 3D printing into the rug tufting because a lot of my pieces will end up be hung up on people's walls. They're not actually rugs that people walk on. And so it's one of those where if you had it like hanging on your wall and then you had a physical zipper pull on it or something like that, I think it would add a really cool 3D element and kind of a mixed media where you have tufting and 3D printing. So I would say 3D printing will definitely be in my near future. I just don't know what capacity it'll end up being.
I love that idea so much. I'm, like, obsessed with being able to, like, feel things, like,
Sure.
getting texture in all of the shit that I make.
Yeah, leatherworking, I'm sure you do. There's a very tactile
Oh,
feel to
yeah.
leatherworking. I remember being in high school and one of the classes we literally used like the iron punch and you just smack letters into this little, leather keychain that I gave to my parent and thought that it was going to be the best gift they've ever received. And yeah, it was
Nice.
janky as all get out. But yeah, there's very like tactile feel to that and like, smacking that into the leather and the feel of the leather and all that. There's a lot to it. So I definitely
Mhm.
understand that.
I'm making these junk journals because I saw it on TikTok and immediately needed to do it myself, and, yeah, I have, like, punched through it to, like, sew a charm into it and done all stuff like that. Uh,
That's awesome.
has there ever been anything you were working on that went wrong, and how did you recover from it?
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of good in that subject, especially to anybody that's listening that's thinking about starting up a new, either just getting into art in general or starting a new genre of it or whatever you want to do. I mean, um, later on down the road when I did start watching spray paint videos, one of the guys I watched just puts out just amazing pieces. Like we're talking some that glow in the dark and all this different stencil work. And I found myself getting really discouraged in my own. And it's a personal thing. I don't think you should ever compare your art to others. It's a bad, thing to do because it just ends up beating up on yourself about it. But for him, he ended up eventually posting videos of his mistakes. And to me, I learned
Mm.
so much from his mistakes, like watching him accidentally set his own artwork on fire or, his stencil sticking and then him frustratingly stabbing his knife into the work was just, there was something really like grounding about that and wholesome where it's like, oh, wait, he actually makes mistakes too. So, mistakes in general, I think it's important for a lot of creators out there to, don't be afraid to post your mistake videos. Like so many times nowadays, we compare ourselves to people's highlight reels and you see their amazing rug that turns out and you don't see the, three or four that went wrong during it or the amount of time it took to get it to that. And that's actually a funny thing with rugs. My very first rug I ever made was the black and white Batman logo, like the traditional Batman logo you see.
Nice.
And I had done, again, so much research ahead of time about trimming and tufting and all that. And so part of the tufting process, once you've tufted some yarn into the actual cloth, you can trim on the cloth. So you can go on the other side and you can kind of trim some of your lines so that when you have two colors touching, it's a little bit cleaner of a line. And so I did all the research on how to do it. And unfortunately, you're basically using a set of, almost like hair trimmers, like razors, to trim around the edges, and I angled it towards the cloth and I ripped a hole right into it.
Oh.
And if you're familiar with monk's cloth, it's basically just a weave, like a basket weave type cloth that you tuft into. And so I cut a hole right in, and I had already gotten probably 3/4 of the rug done. And so I'm looking at this hole and I'm just thinking, how did I do this? I watched so many tutorial videos. I knew that this was a risk. How did I? Again, goes back to that feeling the weight of your razor, understanding pressure and angles and things like that. And so I made it a point. I literally went to the store, I bought thread, and I I don't know how to sew, but I taught myself how to kind of basket weave that thread through enough and get it tight enough to fix that hole to be able to tuft and finish the rug. Because I made it a point that I wasn't going to give up on this one. I was going to push through it, and it took me, I mean, probably hours to fix that hole, and haven't done it since. Knock on wood. But it was one of those things
Wow.
where it was a good lesson that hey, like be mindful of it, be ready for it because this was that first rug, but. I've had people reach out for 4.5, 5 foot rugs, and if I were to cut a hole in it after doing all that, would be really tough. So
I'm really impressed that you have never done it again.
I mean, I think about it every time I trim on their frame, but it's really about the angle of the clippers. If you think about hair clippers, I mean, if you're shaving along something, you're not risking, but as soon as you angle at a smaller angle towards it, then you risk cutting into it. So
The amount of times that I have cut through a leather project on accident after I'm like same thing, like 3/4 of the way through it, and
Mm.
sometimes you can salvage it, and so
I was gonna ask, is there salvaging a leather work like that or no?
it kinda depends. So, like, there have been times when I make a cut that's, like, super obvious, and I
Mhm.
figure out a way that I can hide it somehow. Like, I style it in a way that's like, "Oh, no, it was supposed to be, like, half covered with this
Sure.
other color to bring out the contrast," and obviously, I can't do that if it's, like, a customer buying it, but if it's
Right.
for me or for a friend or something, and then no one notices, so it's fine.
There you go.
The way that I ruin leather most of the time is through skiving, which is,
Okay.
like, I have to have well, I have a nice knife for it, but
Okay.
I don't like sharpening them, so I usually
Ah,
use a box cutter, admittedly. Um, and yeah, you, like, cut the edges at an angle so
okay.
that when the leather overlaps, it is thinner,
Okay.
which is, like, usually like, if you're bending the end of a belt or something, you don't want it to be, like, super thick.
Sure.
And, I hate skiving, it's my least favorite part of leatherwork, and the amount of times I have just cut right through the entire thing instead of
Mm.
cutting an angle, and usually, I haven't figured out how to salvage that yet.
So if anybody has any tips, that's a good one.
Uh-huh.
But hey, it builds character, right? You know,
Absolutely.
it's and it's I'm sure because I know you've done leatherworking for a long time, so I'm sure it's still humbling, to realize that hey, I still have to be 100% focused. I've done this 100 times, but the minute I lose focus and the pressure and the angle of something, then all of a sudden that work's gone to nothing. So
Yeah. It's really good for, like, being present and in the moment. It kind
sure.
of forces it upon you.
Yeah, well, I mean, art should be for a lot of people. It's not for everybody, but I know it's therapeutic for a lot of people. I mean, that's the reason why when I stopped doing the spray paint art, I had to find another medium. Like, it's something I have to have an artistic release, or I'm just a miserable person to be around. So I need to be able to get out there, and I have some nice speakers set up in the garage, and I'll blast some music, and you know, get out this. And it doesn't hurt that you're literally using a gun to like throw yarn into this. It's therapeutic in that way if you're having a rough day. So
Right. Oh, yeah, there's something special about, like, finding the art form that's your own and just, like,
hmm
throwing yourself into it.
absolutely. I know we had talked a little bit before about if there would be any chance of like crossover pieces, and I thought about that quite a bit. And I was trying to figure out. I've thought before about if there was any way to do any of my spray paint art on like the back side of the rug, but
Ooh.
the material doesn't translate super well. So it did get me thinking. I'm not gonna lie. I've looked at I talked about the 3D printing part of it. I've also looked at doing like LED strips underneath it
Oh
and
my
seeing if
god.
that would shine through. I would have to kind of play around with colors and see what would actually shine through and what wouldn't. But I mean, you could easily run a little USB cord out of it. That if somebody was going to hang it, they could actually plug it in and it would look really cool. So I think it's good to branch out and try different things. I mean, that's the good thing about it, and that was one of the things I was gonna kind of talk a little bit about too. Is for a lot of people out there, you'll see these kind of things like rug tufting or anything like that, and you decide, oh, I'm gonna do that as a job. And there's a part of me that was trying to run it as a business when I first started, and it kind of burnt me out on it. And
Mm,
so there's a lot of people out there think that every new art style is going to be their career, and a lot of us would love to be able to do art for a living, and not all of us can. So sometimes, unfortunately, when you push it as a career, you can lose the passion in it. And so, not everybody's a little different, but for me, it really took sitting back and being like, look, this doesn't have to be a business. This can be something I enjoy, and then it lets me take risks. Because if I think of it as a business, then it's, hey, every time I make a mistake, it costs me X amount of dollars and things like that. And that's just a good way to take the soul out of your art, unfortunately. So,
yeah.
take a step back and remember why you're doing it. Some of us, it's therapy. Some of it's just stress relief. Some of it is a job. Some of it. So just take a step back and remember why you did it. especially if you reach a roadblock.
Yeah, that's something that I think I'm still finding the balance for because I have like my Etsy store and I'm realizing that I don't really like repetitiveness.
Sure.
So the thing that sells most is this cat dice tray, and that's fine because it's like it just doesn't take as long. It's one of my less expensive things.
Yeah.
But I think I wouldn't like making things to order as often as if had this as like my full-time job. So I've been
Sure.
thinking about like how to put up essentially just like people can order custom things
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
what I like is figuring out how to make something and like making new things. So
Oh, I 100% agree. I mean, when I've had people approach me with an idea, there's been plenty of times that I've known I need to charge them a little bit just to pay
right.
for the supplies, but I'm so excited about the idea that it's just like let me get at this. Like I'm not a sports person at all, and I've done some sports teams logos which have turned out really well and have been enjoyable, but like I had a person reach out to me about a Hollow Knight which I think would look so good in the black and white, like one of them that I'd love to do. I've got some upcoming ones that I've been needing to work on. Like I like a lot of the like what are like Optic Gaming. A lot of those organization logos look really clean. So I'd like to do some org logos, things like that. It's but yeah, it's one of those where if you do the same rug, I've been very fortunate where I don't think I've actually done the same rug twice. But
Oh,
if
interesting.
everybody kept asking for the same rug, I could definitely see that it wouldn't be as enjoyable. Now, granted, once you give it to the person and they're that excited about it, then it changes it up. But it's one of those where yeah, I would want to make the same one over and over. I think I did the if you're familiar with Naruto, I did the Akatsuki Cloud like 3 times, but that was when I was first learning, and I actually need to make it again because it's been a couple of years, so I want to see kind of how it's progressed because the original ones were not not to my standard, is what I'll say.
I totally understand that. If you don't mind
Yeah.
saying, how much, like, in materials would your average sized rug that you do be?
So yeah, it's kind of hard to say. I would say honestly, and that's the hard part. It's admittedly is I've had a lot of people that have had interest in my rugs and then reach out for pricing, and then it's a little bit more than what there's been because obviously you can go to a store and buy a rug, but and that's why I honestly like streaming some of the rug making at times because it shows people like, hey, like a 2.5 to 3 foot rug is going to take me probably anywhere from 6 to 8 hours to make, depending on the detail line. So it's one of those things where, like, yes, the yarn itself would probably spend 30 to 40 bucks on yarn, depending on the size. I'm going to say for like a 3 foot rug, which is my most common size that I do. It's going to be about $40 in yarn, depending on the number of colors. Because that's the thing is, unfortunately, if somebody has a design and idea, and it's just got a little bit of red on the tongue, I still need an entire thing of red. Like
Yeah.
I can't go buy a small unless I happen to have some left over from a previous project. In which case, then it helps out. But generally, I usually factor about $30 to $40 worth of yarn. The monk's cloth I have to order every time I do. Now, sometimes I can split those up if I have 2 or 3 orders at the same time. I can do one big, large cloth and I can do 2 or 3 rugs on it at a time. But you're looking at about 20 bucks for the backing for that
Oh,
monk's
wow.
cloth. A tub of glue will get me through usually 4 rugs, and those tubs are 20 bucks, 20 to 30 each. So $5 on that. Then there's the actual. So I use a non-slip backing that has like the little rubber feet on it, basically, so it won't slide on the floor. That usually runs about 20 to 30 bucks. So I mean, there's a lot of cost involved. So if I'm charging somebody, 250 for a rug, I'm spending 150 on the supplies usually.
Which is I feel like, not enough for your labor.
Sure, and that's the hard part, especially in the beginning. Like I definitely take a cut or I take a hit on the actual what I'm making on it, and that's where I spoke to earlier is, you know, I could charge more. I could probably do it more in a business sense, but at the same time, that does price some people out. And
Yeah.
so it depends. And if I can save people money on it and do it at a lower price, I will. If it's something I'm doing for something I enjoy, I want to do this rug, and then it ends up selling, I could charge less for it because obviously it was learning, it was something I enjoyed doing. Or if I'm able to create content with it, whether it be, filming it. I haven't done any YouTube videos, but I'd love to, but I've streamed it on Twitch and things like that. And if I were to ever consistently do it and then make, any kind of revenue off of the actual creation of it, then maybe I could use that to bring the price down a little bit too. But to your point, I mean, it's, I do have to pay myself a little bit because it does take a while.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of cost involved in general. I mean, that's the thing, is a lot of times people that buy custom created stuff or things from artists, is they don't, like, yes, there's obviously the raw material that's involved in making it, but also at the same time, I mean, that tufting gun's about $250. The wood, I built the frame myself, so all the wood that came into making it. Like the actual trimming gun, I have two different trimmers that I use. I have basically a set of sheep shearers that I use to like level the rugs and like get them nice and flat. All that stuff has cost, so you kind of factor all that into it.
Yeah, people definitely don't think about enough when they're thinking about prices of
Sure.
handmade things.
Yep.
Uh you know what? I'll cut this if you want me to, but now I'm just thinking I should start setting some money aside and convince you to make me a lazy fox rug.
Hey, I'd love it. Honestly, like I'm there's plenty of times I see people's logos and I'm just like, what if I just make it? Like I've actually done before where I've made stuff for people and then just be like, and I'll just be transparent with them and be like, look, this is what it cost me to make, and you just pay me whatever. Like I
Nice.
enjoyed making your logo. So like I even almost made it for, it's funny you mentioned Fox because my dentist is Fox Garden Dental and their logo is like this really cute fox, like really minimalistic fox logo. And every time I'm in the waiting room, I'm like, I'm gonna make y'all's logo. Like, and I don't think anyone in this office that just works here cares about your logo, but it's just a really clean looking logo. And so I want to make it as a rug.
That's so cute for a
Yeah.
dentist office.
Right? They'd probably love it. They're actually super nice dentists. So it's,
When you okay,
yeah,
I
of
have one more question.
course. No,
When
I'm good.
you make the pattern for it, how do
Mhm.
you get that on the cloth?
Yeah. So depends on what I'm doing. If it's something I can easily grab off the internet, then I'll project it on there and I'll be able to trace over it from the projection and then go in and do like editing or because not everything works as a rug. So like that's a big part, is when I do talk to people sometimes I'll ask them like, what's your favorite show? Or, what's a character you like? Or, what characters from that show? Because, not everything translates. So for me, if somebody has an idea or something like that, sometimes they do. Sometimes a logo translates perfectly and I can just literally project it, trace it, and then do all the tufting. But sometimes it's, hey, like I really like this character and I'll have to kind of meld some images. I'm not super good with Photoshop, but enough that I can get by to take a photo. Sometimes you can do like a color reduction. So like I haven't done any portraits yet. I don't really plan on doing portraits because I feel like it's really hard to get like the like overall. And I've seen some amazing rugs that people have made. I just, for whatever reason, that's not something I have any interest in. Um, it's just one of those, what I've seen them, they basically take the image and they reduce it down to like an overall 4 or 5 colors and then they can tuft it like that. But me personally, it's usually a projection drawing, or I can just draw right on the frame itself. The good thing is, no matter what you put on that monk's cloth, you're not going to see it at the end of the day. So, you can make mistakes on it. You can, you know, draw different areas and change your mind and change things up. And then no one knows any of that's in there. It's all on the cloth itself and you'll never see it on the rug, which is nice.
Yeah, I imagine that's kind of freeing.
It is a little bit. Yeah, I've made some. The biggest tip I'll give to anybody that starts to do rugs is don't forget to mirror your image when you're doing any kind of
Oh,
text or logos. Like, it is the worst feeling to get everything drawn up on that cloth and realize that you didn't mirror it, because as soon as you tuft it, it tufts in reverse, so everything will be backwards. So
oh
yeah,
wow, yeah, I didn't think about
yep.
that.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because you're technically, when you put it on the cloth and you're tufting it, the backside is actually what you see, and so if you think of it, it's going to mirror it. So yeah, I've drawn them all up. My niece actually caught it one time. 'Cause she's a big fan of like little YouTube channel, and she wanted to do their logo, and so I was teaching her how to make the rugs, and we got it all drawn up, and then she said, "Isn't that backwards?" And I was like, "Oh gosh." So yeah, so little tip that'll save you some big headaches to anybody.
All right, cool. Well, where would you like people to find you online?
So yeah, I mean twitch.tv/GuinnessPorVida, which is Guinness like the beer, and then Por Vida, Spanish for life. So yeah, I'm on there not regularly by any means. But you can also just DM me through Twitch. On Discord, I'm also Guinness Porvita. So if you ever wanted to, my DMs are open. If anybody ever has any ideas or would like a rug or anything like that, I'm very transparent when it comes to pricing and time frames. I do work a full-time job outside of art, so my time frames are usually a little bit longer. But if there's a rush order, I've done them quickly before. So feel free DM me anywhere on there, and then hopefully maybe catch me again on this podcast. So
Yes, definitely. You have to learn glass blowing first.
yeah, that'll be the task before the next one. So
And I'll link that too in the episode description
awesome, thank you.
for yeah. You can find me also on Twitch at Glomdy, but if you're looking for Lazy Fox Creates, I'm on TikTok and lazyfoxcreates.com. You go find all my stuff there. Thank you so much for doing this. This is awesome.
Yeah, thank you. No, thank you for having me. I really honestly felt really honored to be asked and loved being on.
I was so happy when you responded positively to it. All right, that will be it for us. Everyone go out and make something. Bye.
Bye everyone.